أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما. Today we have to start from verse number 40 of Surah Al-Baqarah, the cow. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ya Bani Israel askuru ni'mati allati an'amtu alaykum wa awfu bi'ahdikum wa iyaya farhabun. O Bani Israel, recall all the favors that I showered on you. Keep the promise you made to me, and I will keep the promise I made to you, and fear me alone. So who are the Bani Israel mentioned here? The Bani Israel are the people or the children of Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam, whose title was Israel, and the word Israel meant Abdullah. Yaqub alayhi salam was the son of Hazrat Ishaq alayhi salam, who in turn was the son of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam. The dates of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam are 2160 BC to 1985 BC. So for 4,000 years, thousands of prophets had been sent to the Bani Israel, and therefore they had acquired a great deal of knowledge and wisdom through the prophets. وَآمِنُوا بِمَا أَنزَلْتُ مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا مَعَكُمْ وَلَا تَكُونُوا أَوَّلَ كَافِرٍ بِهِ وَلَا تَشْتَرُوا بِآيَاتِي ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا وَإِيَّايَ فَاتَّقُونِ. Come to believe in what I have revealed, which confirms that which you have with you. Do not become of the foremost deniers, and do not give away my signs for a paltry price. Beware of me alone. Come to believe in what I have revealed, which confirms that which you have with you means now believe in the Quran, which has been revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this book and the Prophet confirms what you have with you, and that is the Torah. This is like talking about the continuity of revelation, and the Quran also honors all the prophets. It does not just honor any one prophet, but all the prophets. Do not become of the foremost deniers, and do not give away my signs for a paltry price. The scholars of the Bani Israel, since there were very few books that were available, they were handwritten, very few books, they could easily change whatever they wanted to, and they could tell people this is in the book and this is not in the book. So this is why they are being told not to. God is telling them, do not give away my signs for a paltry price. In this case, the signs can mean a lot of things, but in this case, signs here means all the attributes and physical description of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These were the signs of God which were mentioned in the Torah. So do not become deniers of those things which are mentioned about the Prophet, and do not give away my signs for a paltry price. That means for any worldly gain. They either took money to make changes in their book, or this was also a worldly gain when they were trying to maintain the superiority of their nation, of their people. And since the Bani Israel occupied an important position in the Arab world of that time, they are being addressed here, and they're being reminded of all the good and the bad things that either they did or which were given to them. And besides this, many non-Muslim Jewish tribes had put forward the condition that if the Bani Israelis accepted Islam, then they would also follow them. So there were some kind of leaders, especially in the, well, not just in the spiritual realm, but also in the physical realm. وَلَا تَلْبِسُوا الْحَقَّ بِالْبَاطِلِ وَتَكْتُمُوا الْحَقَّ وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. Do not confuse the truth with falsehood, and do not conceal the truth knowingly. So, hiding the things that are mentioned about the last prophet, and also, things that would happen when he came, the signs that would show up when he came, all these things they were concealing. So, do not conceal the truth knowingly. In the Bible, in Deuteronomy, the prophet Moses prophesies and talks about a prophet who will come after him. Also in Deuteronomy in the Bible, the words spoken by God are, I will raise them up a prophet from among thy brethren and will put my words in his mouth. That means that prophet will not speak on his own, but he will speak whatever he is, whatever words are revealed to him. And that's exactly what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَارْكَعُوا مَعَ الرَّاكِعِينَ. Establish worship and pay the zakat and bow with those who bow in prayer. This here is addressed. Of course, Muslims, the believers, are also being continuously told to establish worship and to pay the zakat. But here in this case, this is meant for the Bani Israelis. To establish worship, whatever form of worship they were asked to do, and to pay the zakah, or which is the charitable tax, and bow with those who bow in prayer. أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ وَتَنْسَوْنَ أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ تَتْلُونَ الْكِتَابَ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Do you order others to be good, but forget it yourselves, even though you are readers of the book? Do you not comprehend? So many of these people, mainly scholars, but even others who knew about these things, they kept telling others to do all the good things which were there in their books, but they did not practice these things themselves. So they are being questioned and told that you are the readers of the book, so you must be the foremost practitioners of all the things that you read in the book. وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. Seek help from patience and prayer. No doubt obligatory prayer is difficult, but not for those who are humble. So here they are being advised to the prayer, the obligatory prayer, which for the Muslims is done 5 times in a day at least. Then these people, here of course the Bani Israelis are being told that the obligatory prayer, which has to be done with all its rules and regulations, that is not easy. But it is easy for those who come to the faith with humility, for those who are humble. So since the Bani Israelis had been doing a lot of wrong things for centuries, for ages, here they are being shown a way out to take help from patience and prayer. And through patience and prayer, they can remove their faults. The word for patience is sabr. Astainu bis sabri was salat. So sabr is literally it means to stop or to tie something. And here it means one should have the strong will to continue on the difficult right path, and also to take help from prayer. Even though in this case it is meant for the Bani Israelis, this is good for all times and for all people. الَّذِينَ يَظُنُّونَ أَنَّهُمْ مُلَاقُو رَبِّهِمْ وَأَنَّهُمْ إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. They are those who are sure they will meet their Lord and are sure they will return to Him. In this verse number 46, the people who are humble, who do not find it difficult to bow down in front of their Lord, their qualities, attributes are being mentioned, that they are those who are sure, they believe that they will meet their Lord. That means they are sure that one day they will have to stand in front of their Lord, who is the just judge, and they will have to answer for all the deeds that they committed. And also they are sure that this day is going to be established, and they are sure they will return to Him. They are sure that there is another life after this life. Everything does not come to an end with death in this life. Ya Bani Israel askuru ni'matay allati an'amtu alaykum. وَأَنِّي فَضَّلْتُكُمْ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ. O Bani Israel, recall the favors I bestowed on you. I had raised you above all others. It is true that the Bani Israelis had been given a lot of favors and blessings at one time, for not at any just one time, but over a long period of time. And these favors were that they had a great deal of knowledge which they had accumulated from all the prophets who came to them. The prophets brought a lot of knowledge, then they also accumulated a lot of wisdom. Wisdom, whenever it is mentioned that a prophet was sent with a book, it is also said he was sent with the book and the wisdom. The wisdom is the wisdom to understand that book and to interpret the book, and also all the other things that are mentioned in their faith, that are a part of the faith. So they had acquired and collected a lot of knowledge, wisdom, business sense, and business acumen. But when they defied the prophets and made changes in their books, and they killed the prophets, made life difficult for the prophets, and even killed some of them, then their superiority came to an end. It was taken away from them. They were no longer the leaders of the nations of the world. وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا لَا تَجْزِي نَفْسٌ عَنْ نَفْسٍ شَيْئًا وَلَا يُقْبَلُ مِنْهَا شَفَاعَةٌ وَلَا يُؤْخَذُ مِنْهَا عَدْلٌ وَلَا هُمْ يُنصَرُونَ. Fear the day when none will be able to pay back or mediate. Neither compensation will be acceptable, and nor will they be helped. So we find that all the ways of pardoning criminals will be closed on the last day, on the day of judgment. In this world, we can pay a fine, and then, whatever wrong we had done will be erased. And if we had taken away somebody's wealth, maybe if we returned it, then he will forgive us, pay back or mediate. Neither compensation will be acceptable, nor will they be helped. So all the ways of pardoning criminals will be closed on that day, and there will be no bargaining. وَإِذْ مِنْ آلِ فِرْعَوْنَ يَسُومُونَكُمْ سُوءَ الْعَذَابِ يُذَبِّحُونَ أَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَيَسْتَحْيُونَ نِسَاءَكُمْ وَفِي ذَلِكُمْ بَلَاءٌ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ عَظِيمٌ. And remember, we rescued you from the people of the Pharaoh. They persecuted you by killing your sons and sparing your women, a great trial from your Lord. So we find that all times of loss as well as times of gain are trials. In times of trial, it is to be borne, the trial has to be borne with patience, and the time of gain, in the time of gain, we have to accept it with gratefulness. But the Bani Israelis thought no matter how lowly their deeds, no matter what they did, salvation was guaranteed for them because they were the chosen people. Now here in verse number 49, we are being told that the Pharaohs persecuted you by killing your sons and sparing your women, a great trial from your Lord. It is said that the astrologers of the time of Pharaoh had told him that a child will be born among the Bani Israelis who will be the cause of his destruction. And another problem was for them was that the birth rate of the Bani Israelis was quite high. And the Coptics were afraid that their minority might be changed into a majority. And this way they could take over the whole country. So this is the reason why he gave this order. Pharaoh was a god king. He was not just a king, he called himself a god. And therefore he had limitless powers. And he gave this order to kill any male child that was born among the Bani Israelis. Now going back to verse number 48, fear the day when none will be able to pay back or mediate. This is a kind of referring to intercession. Among the Christians, there is the belief that Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, Jesus Christ, died on the cross in order to save them for their salvation. This is a kind of a vicarious redemption. He will redeem them on the day of judgment. But actually, on the day of judgment, there will neither be any mediation nor intercession, and therefore whatever we do in this world will be counted. وَإِذْ فَرَقْنَا بِكُمُ الْبَحْرَ فَأَنْجَيْنَاكُمْ وَأَغْرَقْنَا آلَ فِرْعَوْنَ وَأَنْتُمْ تَنْظُرُونَ. By parting the waters for you, we saved you and drowned the people of Pharaoh. You were eyewitnesses. So we remember the story when Prophet Musa alayhi salam started out with his people, with the Bani Israelis. They came to the Bahr Kulzum or the Red Sea. And of course, there was no way of crossing this. So Musa alayhi salam was ordered to strike the water with his staff, the miraculous staff with the miraculous qualities. And he did that, and the waters parted, and a path was created in the center. And they easily crossed over to the other side. But when the people of Pharaoh, not even waiting to think for a minute, how come, this water, there's a path in the water? They just, in their blind rage, they also, entered the water, and as soon as all of them had come into the waters closed, and they were all drowned. وَإِذْ بَعَثْنَا مُوسَى 40 لَيْلَةً ثُمَّ اتَّخَذْتُمُ الْعِجْلَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ وَأَنْتُمْ ظَالِمُونَ. Call to mind when we made a pact with Moses, for 40 nights, and you acknowledged the calf as a deity in his absence. You were indeed transgressors. Now, these Bani Israelis had been living for a long, long time in Egypt, and they were influenced by the Egyptians, who used to worship the bull Apis at Memphis. They were influenced by this, and they also had this desire to worship her. And while Musa alayhi salam was away, he had been called to the Mount Tur by God for 40 nights, for days and nights, in order to hold vigils and to keep praying and to purify himself in order to receive the Torah. In the meantime, a magician called Samiri had also joined the Bani Israelis when they were leaving Egypt. And he said, I can make you a golden calf out of all the gold that you possess. So they all gave their gold to him, and he molded a calf. And by some trick, he was able to produce some sound in the passing the wind through the cow. The cow used to produce some kind of sound, and they were all really taken up by this. Now, even though shirk or assigning partners to God or polytheism or idol worship is the most major of the major sins and is quite unpardonable as mentioned in the Quran, yet God was kind enough to them and forgave them later. Then ثُمَّ عَفَوْنَا عَنْكُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. Then we forgave you after this so that you might be grateful. وَإِذْ آتَيْنَا مُوسَى الْكِتَابَ وَالْفُرْقَانَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَهْتَدُونَ. Recall when we gave Musa the book and the criterion so that you might become rightly guided. Criterion is like a touchstone. Touchstone is a kind of a dark colored stone, smooth dark colored stone. If you go to a jeweler and take a piece of metal, yellow metal, to him and say, I would like to find out if this is gold and how much carat gold it is, the jeweler will rub it on that stone, and he'll look at the color that appears, and he will tell you whether it's gold or it's brass or something else. So the touchstone, the criterion is a touchstone which distinguishes between the truth and falsehood, between good and bad. So the Torah was a criterion. The Torah was also criterion, as well as the miracles that were given to Prophet Musa. They were very clear miracles, and they also established the truth. They established the difference between the truth and falsehood. وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ يَا قَوْمِ إِنَّكُمْ ظَلَمْتُمْ أَنفُسَكُمْ بِاتِّخَاذِكُمُ الْعِجْلَ فَتُوبُوا إِلَى بَارِئِكُمْ فَاقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ عِنْدَ بَارِئِكُمْ فَتَابَ عَلَيْكُمْ إِنَّهُ هُوَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ. And recall when Musa said to his nation, O my people, you have transgressed against yourselves by acknowledging the calf as your deity. So seek forgiveness from your Lord by punishing the sinners with death. This will be better for you in the eyes of God. Then God relented towards you, for He is the most relenting, the ever merciful. Now, this seems like an extreme punishment that these people were asked to kill those companions of theirs who had started worshipping the calf. But you see, the explanation is that a new nation was going to be established. All these Bani Israelis were going to establish a new nation in Palestine. And the main basis or the foundation of this nation was going to be the belief in the one God. And they had shaken the very foundation of the state, that is equal to sedition. And in any country, sedition carries a very strong, severe punishment. But here these people realized their mistake and they started asking for pardon. And that is why here it is said, then God relented towards you, for He is the most relenting, the ever merciful. وَإِذْ قُلْتُمْ يَا مُوسَى لَن نُؤْمِنَ لَكَ حَتَّى نَرَى اللَّهَ جَهْرَةً فَأَخَذَتْكُمُ الصَّاعِقَةُ وَأَنْتُمْ تَنْظُرُونَ. Recall when you said to Musa, we will definitely not believe in you until we see God openly. At this, the thunderbolt struck you and you witnessed it. Now, this was an extremely bold demand, asking Musa to let them see God openly. You remember that even Musa had not been able to see God. God had just spoken to him. And when Musa said, I would like to see you, God said, I will throw a little bit of my light on this mountain. And if this mountain stays in place, then you can see me. But if it doesn't, then you can't see me. And then what happened to the mountain? The mountain broke into pieces. It was just shattered. And they think that they can see God. So they're demanding of Musa to let them see God openly. And the thunderbolt struck them. And I'll read the Arabic first. Summa ba'asnakum min ba'di mawtikum la'allakum tashkurun. Then we raised you from your death so that you might become grateful, which means that the thunderbolt struck them and they died. But again, God was kind to them and He raised them again. But some people have interpreted this to mean that they were intellectually and spiritually dead. وَزَلَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمُ الْغَمَامَ وَأَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَنَّ وَالسَّلْوَى كُلُوا مِنْ طَيِّبَاتِ مَا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ وَمَا ظَلَمُونَا وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ. And we provided shade for you and sent down the manna and the salwa. We said, eat of the pure food that we have given as provision for you. They did not harm us, but they only kept harming themselves. So, since they were still still sort of traveling, they could not build their houses there in the desert. And it was very hot, of course, in the desert. So God provided them with the shade by the clouds. And it was not easy for them to find food in the desert. So they were provided with fruit from heaven, that is manna and salwa. Manna was a kind of a sweet gum, which would, like the dew, it would get deposited on the plants. Some have said on the thorns of some plants, and they could collect them and eat it. Another word that has been given for the manna is turanjeen. And salwa was a small bird which could be easily caught and eaten. But we'll read later what they did about this. But Hazrat Ibn Abbas has said that they were not supposed to hoard any of this stuff because they were being continuously provided with it. But they also started hoarding it. Therefore, of course, again, God was angry with them. وَإِذْ قُلْنَا ادْخُلُوا هَٰذِهِ الْقَرْيَةَ فَكُلُوا مِنْهَا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمْ رَغَدًا وَادْخُلُوا الْبَابَ سُجَّدًا وَقُولُوا حِطَّةٌ نَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ خَطَايَاكُمْ وَسَنَزِيدُ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And recall to mind when we said, enter this town and eat your fill from wherever you like, and enter the gate bowing humbly, asking for forgiveness. We will forgive you your trespasses, for we reward the righteous with plenty. So, which is the town they were supposed to enter? According to Hazrat Ibn Abbas, it was called Ariha. And also, we have been told that the original land of the Bani Israelis was Syria, that is Sham. And they had migrated to Egypt in the time of Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam. And then after that, the Amalekites or the Amalqa took over Syria. Now they had been asked to fight a jihad and reclaim the land of their forefathers, that is the land of Syria. But they did not have the courage to do that. Therefore, they were made to roam around in the desert for 40 years. And the next generation, which grew up in freedom and liberty, they had more courage and they were able to fight a jihad. Now they were asked to enter this town in a state of prostration, that is bowing with humility. And they were also told the words which they were supposed to utter when entering the town. Qulu hittatun naghfir lakum khatayakum, and we will forgive you your trespasses. But they were somehow, at every step, they were defying the orders that were given to them. And instead of pronouncing the word they were asked to pronounce, they changed it and said hintatum, which meant wheat or a grain in the hair or red wheat. Like, it was quite meaningless, these words that they substituted for it. The actual thing was that they disregarded God's command. And they also, instead of bowing humbly, they started dragging themselves on their backsides and also changed the word. So, of course, this was another cause for God's being unhappy with them. The Rijsam minas samai, that is a reprisal from the sky, the punishment from the sky, was, according to Ibn Abbas, it was the plague with which they were infested at that time. وَإِذِ اسْتَسْقَى مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ فَقُلْنَا اضْرِبْ بِعَصَاكَ الْحَجَرَ فَانْفَجَرَتْ مِنْهُ اثْنَتَا عَشَرَ عَيْنًا قَدْ عَلِمَ كُلُّ أُنَاسٍ مَشْرَبَهُمْ كُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا مِنْ رِزْقِ اللَّهِ وَلَا تَعْصَوْا فِي الْأَرْضِ مُفْسِدِينَ. And recall to mind when Musa asked for water for his people, and we asked him to strike the rock with his staff. When, of course, the desert is always a hot place, and when they had run out of their water supply, they asked Musa alayhi salam to supply them with water. So Musa alayhi salam was asked to strike the rock with his staff, with his stick. And as he struck it, and it is said he struck it in 12 places, and every time he struck the rock, the spring would gush forth. And it so happened that there were 12 tribes of the Bani Israelis who were following him. And miraculously, each tribe knew which was its drinking place. Here it is said, eat and drink from that provided by God, and do not go about spreading discord in the earth. Some commentators, especially Hazrat Ibn Abbas, had added that spreading discord in the earth was also by disobeying Prophet Musa. وَإِذْ قُلْتُمْ يَا مُوسَى لَن نَّصْبِرَ عَلَىٰ طَعَامٍ وَاحِدٍ فَادْعُ لَنَا رَبَّكَ يُخْرِجْ لَنَا مِمَّا تُنبِتُ الْأَرْضُ مِن بَقْلِهَا وَقِثَّائِهَا وَفُومِهَا وَعَدَسِهَا وَبَصَلِهَا قَالَ أَتَسْتَبْدِلُونَ الَّذِي هُوَ أَدْنَىٰ بِالَّذِي هُوَ خَيْرٌ اهْبِطُوا مِصْرًا فَإِنَّ لَكُم مَّا سَأَلْتُمْ. Then you said, "Oh Musa, we cannot be content with only one kind of food." So very soon they got tired of eating the food from heaven. It is also said that having lived for generations with the Egyptians, they had also they had come to prefer some of the minor comforts of captivity. For example, security and being able to eat the food from the earth. And this is why they were they were unhappy, even when they had gained their freedom. Ep.02 Misran, go down to the town. Some commentators translate this as Misr as a meaning a word for a town. Some others have literally said that it means that they were told to go back to Egypt into captivity, and then you will get whatever you want. This honor was thrust upon them. It is said that jizya was imposed upon the Bani Israel at this time, and jizya is imposed on a people who are a group which is of unbelievers. So even though they are following a prophet, in fact following two prophets, jizya was imposed upon them at that time. This is said by Hazrat Ibn Abbas. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ كَانُوا يَكْفُرُونَ بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ وَيَقْتُلُونَ النَّبِيِّينَ بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ ذَلِكَ بِمَا عَصَوْا وَكَانُوا يَعْتَدُونَ. So dishonor and poverty was thrust upon them because they denied the signs of God and killed the prophets without cause. This was because they were disobedient and rebellious. So dishonor was thrust upon them because they denied the signs of God. So many of the signs of God, mainly we just talked about the signs that the Prophet ﷺ, his attributes and his signs, which were there in their books, they denied them. And killing the prophets without cause, this is also found in the Bible in many places, and the prophets that we know were killed were Hazrat Zakaria alayhi salam and his son Prophet Yahya alayhi salam. So this is the end of verse 60, and inshallah next time we will continue with verse 62. We can just do a short prayer. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina azaban nar wa adkhilna al jannata ma'al abrar ya azizu ya ghaffar ya rabbil alamin bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Ameen summa ameen. Inshallah, we will see you next time. Jazakallah khair. Thanks for joining us.